everybody. My name is Brian Zajac. The first thing I want to kind of mention is to say thank you. You guys braved all this rain for me. It's pretty awesome. So thank you very much for showing up. I honestly thought 3 people were going to show up. So I appreciate you all braving the rain. So this is a design presentation about prototyping without design skills. And we're going to be using Adobe XD, but you can use many other types of prototyping apps. There's Framer, there's InVision, there's numerous amounts, Marvel, whatever. But the point is, XD is actually a free app, and it works within the Adobe ecosystem. So that's a big plus. And some of the tools I'm going to show you today make prototyping easy. You don't require you to do a lot of coding and a lot of extra steps that some of these other programs do. They do them well, it's just it's a little bit more advanced. So before we get into that, I want to tell you a little about who I am. At my core, I'm a digital designer. And what I mean by that is I own 2 companies. The 2D side of things is iMagination. Since 2001, I've been doing my thing with UI, UX, web design, internet marketing, all that good stuff. And then in 2006, I established 3DAS, which does 3D architectural renderings and animations. So I kind of have this balance of 2D and 3D, so I kind of know both spaces, and that's becoming converging now. So this is becoming a very interesting space in the prototyping area. So for me, I'm being able to explain the process of prototyping is only a small piece. I want you guys to understand the whole breadth of it, and I don't think I can be able to explain it as well as InVision. InVision is one of the top prototyping apps out there, and they recently created a video that I think that everybody should watch. So let's take a look at that. It's only a few minutes long.
UX designers have
What? Yeah, I know. I'm working on it. It's it always does this.
UX designers have a lot on their plate. Between research, wireframes, user tests, the list goes on and on. And if you're new to the game, this can all feel very overwhelming. Well, throw that fear out the window because we're about to embark on a journey through the 6 stages of the UX design process. Before starting any successful UX project, you'll need to be in tune with 2 things: your user and your brand. Let's start with the user. The big question around this is, what problems are they facing? Once you can identify the problems, then you can begin to start working towards the solutions. Second is understanding the brand. How does the project you're working on align with the brand's mission and goals? To summarize, in this stage, you want to identify the problems facing the users as well as the core goals of the brand and see how they align. As a designer, you probably have a ton of assumptions about what the user wants or doesn't want in a design. But not challenging those assumptions can leave you in a hole that's too deep to dig yourself out of. One-on-one interviews, focus groups, surveys, and usability tests are just a few methods to help vet your assumptions and base them on real, tangible evidence. And keep in mind, you don't need to survey 1 million users. A good rule of thumb is finding 3 to 5 users in your target audience. It'll save you time and typically give you as much data as you need to move forward with your project. Now that you've done your research, you can take all that data and start working with it. One way to lay out your research visually is with a user persona. Personas will act as a guide when it comes to making all of your design decisions. If you ever get stuck, you can always look back to the persona to figure out the user's needs. And if you need a wider view of the big picture journey that your users take, try a user journey map. Creating a user journey map can help you understand what the users will be going through when they interact with your product or service. This can give great insight on pain points and how to restructure them before moving into the next stage. In this stage, you'll actually build out the design. You'll create things like sitemaps, user flows, mockups, and other visuals. But one of the most valuable things you can create at this stage is a wireframe. A wireframe is a low-fidelity representation of your product. Some designers even use them as prototypes. You most likely won't land on your ideal product after one wireframe sketch, so grab your sketchbook, a pencil, and a large cup of coffee because it's going to be a long night. In the end, The wireframes should convey the overall direction and description of the user interface. Okay, so after designing, redesigning, and then redesigning some more, you'll start collaborating with your development team to turn your carefully crafted designs into a real working product. All while keeping a good cadence of check-ins and feedback along the way, because UX is really everyone's job, and it only gets better with collaboration. Once the product launches, it's time for another round of analysis. But this time, you'll want to ask yourself and your team questions like, where did our process go right? Where did we struggle? How are the users responding to the product? Did we solve their issues and pain points? With a solid round of reflection, you'll gain invaluable knowledge that you can leverage to make sure future projects run even more smoothly. And that brings us to the end of our journey. Now you have an idea of what it takes to be a UX designer and hopefully feel a little bit more comfortable when jumping into a new UX position. But keep in mind that every UX design process is going to be unique to your business and product. See you next time.
I want you to understand an example of how this worked well for one of my companies, 3AS. So a while back ago, we created an immersive 3D floor plan system. Initially, I had thought, what a great idea, instead of that interior designers just kind of guess on a floor plan what angle that they want their 3D renderings at. They can be able to do things like go in the space, walk around it, take shots of the space. They could be able to change colors, and they can be able to, here you'll see that they can be able to pick furniture, move it around, make comments. This is a great idea. The problem with that idea is it costs 25 grand. Now, that's actually a good price. There's a lot of work involved with that. The problem was me. I had to figure out what the essentials were on creating an immersive 3D floor plan that was specifically designed for interior designers without giving them too many tools, because that's one of the biggest problems that are happening today. So I retooled it. So here you have a custom floor plan here. It's a cloakroom, I'm sorry, that we had designed. And instead of doing textures, colors, and rotating furniture and comments and all that stuff, there's only now a single menu. There's no GUI. It is literally, you press the space bar, you get this. You walk around the space, you take your picture, and once you've taken your picture, you're done. It put a lot more load on me to be able to make the process happen, and it gave the developer a much smaller amount. So instead of paying $25,000, I spent a lot more time and work interviewing, analyzing, dealing with interior designers, getting to know what they wanted. And so it became $500. Plus time learning, plus patience with the technology, because the technology grew. So there's this kind of convergence. So being patient has its benefits. So I'm just going to show you quickly what this kind of looks like, if I can bring it up. So,
sorry to interrupt, you said the cost was $25,000, now the cost is $500.
Yeah.
What is the cost? Who is that to? Is it what it costs you to make this product, or?
It cost me $500 to have a software developer create the piece that allows them to be able to do this.
Okay.
So as you can see in this, they can look around. Now you can absolutely look around the entire space, but I made this easy so it doesn't get disoriented. There's the help menu. At this point, they're able to just back up the camera, and you see there's the door in front of them. I give them the idea of a clipping plane, which gets rid of the stuff in the foreground, so they can be able to zoom and look around. And now they can make the shot that they're looking for. As you can see here, by pressing P, they press the shot. After the shot's been taken, they can see their shot, and it's done. This is the power of UX and UI, prototyping it out, getting to the essentials, and making it happen. This is just a point of saving money, but I know companies who've saved millions by doing this process. So it's very important, I believe, for everybody to learn this process. Not just the designer, not just the developer, not just the marketing person, the C-level suite people. It is going to be anybody in customer service. They all need this. So let's go back to the 6 stages of the UI UX process. And we're going to just focus today, though, on the design. Specifically, we're going to work on a wireframe and make a prototype out of it. Now, our example in this case is actually going to be the SWFL coders homepage. We're going to kind of redesign it. And I'm going to need your feedback. So I need you guys to be able to tell me what 3 things, or give me 1 thing, whatever you feel comfortable with. Half of you have probably already written down what you think. But tell me 3 things that you guys feel are a necessity to see on the Southwest Quarters homepage. We're going to go ahead and start right here. So, if I can bring up the board. Thank you. Okay. I hope everybody got the Wi-Fi info. Sorry. Right. Okay, so I've got some notes here that I can read off, but I want the audience participation. Who wants to start?
I put a form for developers that are looking to be part of projects or startups. So whether you're looking to build experience or looking for salary or equity, it's just like a place of collaboration, a place where people are looking for.
Okay, so it would be a form they would fill out, or it would be a portal to something?
It's kind of just like I would say it's like a form where people can just fill out information, like
Okay.
you're seeking this.
Cool. Okay, so I'll put contact form with options. Fair enough?
Yeah.
And again, my writing is not the best, but we don't need to worry about that. Okay, who else?
Events.
Awesome.
Links to resources like the Slack group. Links to resources.
We're going to keep that general for this prototype. You're right, there's just so many resources.
All the socials.
Awesome, okay,
The logo.
okay. That's always needed. What else? Come on. You guys got more.
Recent tweets.
Okay.
Partners and supporting
Sorry, what's that? Oh,
sponsors and partners.
Okay. Anybody else?
I was gonna add in resources, this gets a little bit more granular, but maybe the skill level of programming language and a resource where to, or maybe it's a person where to learn from and like where that might be located.
Okay. I'm going to keep that under resources right now.
Oh, sure.
You're absolutely right. For the homepage, because I envision kind of a box that says resources and goes from there, but absolutely. When we get into kind of the meat and potatoes of the site, that's essential. So yeah, great.
Introduction video explaining who the team members are and what you guys offer.
Okay. So, bonus. Okay.
A news feed perhaps, what's going on in the coding industry or?
Okay. All right. 2 more.
Calendar maybe?
Fantastic.
Maybe opportunities to collaborate,
Okay.
or like job posts.
Job posts. Okay. That's going to run in your Slack stuff, right? So I think being able to maybe tie the 2 together in some way.
And speaking of, if there's a way to do it, a form to add themselves to Slack rather than passing around a piece of paper. That would be pretty sweet. Really wanted to get that one out. Gotta be a Slack bot for that.
Awesome. I'll try to put it in, I don't know, I'll think about how I can fit that in. One thing I think is also needed, just personally, I think I'd like to see a map of their locations. Because you guys have multiple,
Yeah.
I don't know where you're at when, you know, like I'd like to know that. So I think a map would be helpful. Okay.
Almost like a link to member profiles. You get a feed from LinkedIn. People
The Slack feed,
effectively.
link to the Slack feed is probably where that would be.
But the membership, so kind of go on with that.
It's almost just like a directory, member directory, and it could be very simple. You know, like you guys were saying, hey, this person's a developer in these languages, this person's in whatever. Could be some, and it could be pulling the feed in from like Facebook or LinkedIn or maybe on LinkedIn.
That's pretty cool.
Most people have profiles.
Okay, so a membership directory, in parentheses, LinkedIn.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that makes it easier.
There we go. Okay, awesome. Okay, I think that's enough to kind of go by now. Let's take a look at this, and I'm going to talk to Derek and Zarella about this one. In your opinion, which one of these, I'm going to just name them out, and you kind of say, that's important, or that's, if it's not, to you guys, then don't say anything, okay? So I'm just going to name them out, just say important or not, meaning it's crucial to be on the website or not.
Well, I don't know. I mean, who am I to say it? Because we serve these people, and if this is what they want.
You're correct, but you also have dealt with them on the day by day, so you have a much more breadth of knowledge
Okay.
of what can be done and what cannot.
All right.
Now, does that mean you're the only the dictator in this position? Absolutely not.
Okay.
It's just an exercise to understand the importance level of the organizers versus what people are suggesting and kind of bringing back.
So we're looking at an overall home web page for the site, where it'd be the one place to get all the information.
It's the starting point, but in a way
It's
that
like the initial.
To have an MVP. Yeah. And the other ones can be added later.
Absolutely.
They're not that important to have them right now.
Okay, so the contact form with options, meaning that somebody fills out a contact form and it has like a drop down that says, you know, for what purpose are you contacting us?
Might as well have a checkbox that says auto add me to Slack just to make them happy.
It's tough because we have been getting solicitations on Meetup. I mean, just this past weekend, someone wanted to get us to share our job posting. So, I don't know. What do you think, Zarella?
I don't think it's that important.
Okay.
That crucial.
All right.
Just because like people will have to know our site to be able to do that, but like we're more accessible on Meetup already.
Okay, so you want them to reach out through the social platform?
I mean, it'd be cool to have it, but like I don't think it's like crucial because there's other ways of people to reaching out.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. So that tells me your focus now is social. It's going to be important for the way the homepage is laid out. So events.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Resources. Okay. Social media. Yes. I think it's already been stated.
Yeah.
A logo, obviously. Recent tweets.
We can put that on from an API and just make it our feed, but
Realistically, how much activities on Twitter right now for Southwest?
Yeah, actually, how much?
Realistically, what is it?
We are.
we're very active.
Reasonably active, but I don't know what our engagement is. I mean, how many people are seeing it or engaging at Twitter specifically?
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Probably not.
Okay.
For right now, we'll hold off on that, but that's absolutely something we can investigate. Sponsorship and partnerships.
Yes.
About us intro.
Yeah.
I'm going to put that actually as a double star, and you'll see why in a minute. Newsfeed.
I don't know. How many more things we have to go?
1, 2, 3, 5.
No, all right.
Okay. Calendar.
Yeah.
Okay. Add to Slack.
Yeah.
Yes,
Oh, yeah. Please.
Map. I think that's cool.
Yes.
I
That's
just-
cool.
Yeah, that's one thing I've been wanting.
Got it.
And what about the membership directory that works with LinkedIn?
That sounds pretty cool.
You have it in Slack, but when you think about how many people really fill out the part of Slack,
Well, the
and
thing.
where we're actively communicating, it's not as high as you'd like.
Well, the thing about Slack is, I mean, people, like, the messages get deleted out over time. So, I don't know. That could be cool. What do you think?
I think it'd be cool.
All right.
But I don't think it's like, if we have to do a site in one day, I think that can work, but I think it'd be definitely very cool.
Okay, so,
Because we have that on Meetup anyways, if somebody wants to see all the members.
okay, so right now we'll hold off on that, just to, and see if we can fit it in, and just think of it as kind of your backup. So when I go to make out the kind of prototype here, we're gonna get now in making a wireframe. So this is where you would kind of work together and collaborate on what the priority levels are to make the design overall. So if we have this design, we obviously know that there's gotta be a header and footer, okay? So we can be able to put in, you know, the social aspects on the footer here, for example. That's pretty obvious. But let's go from top to bottom. I feel that the About Us intro is extremely important because on websites, it takes 3 seconds and they'll leave if they don't know who you are right away. So the About Us intro is kind of like a logo and a quick thing that says what you are. That's it, and they skip on to the next thing. So I think that we call that a hero image. And then your logo is going to be here, so your logo's satisfied. So we've got the logo. We've got the About Us intro. Let's see. We're going to need to have a map somewhere, but I would say that underneath that, maybe you'll have like 3 things here. That 3 or 4 things, let's say 4, they're going to talk about, let's see, it could go off to an events page. It could go off into, let's see, how are your social media here? Your calendar.
What calendar events people wanted to see?
It could be. Okay. So we're going to do that. We're going to put events and calendar as number 1. And then we have a map. Let's say that's at the bottom. We'll just put a map here. What other things could be fit onto here? So if this one is events, we still can use resources, newsfeed, membership directory. So there's some other options here too. But the point is, you have a sub-nav that kind of says what you're looking for. So I'm thinking that you're going to have your top nav, a hero image that says about you. You have your pieces and parts, your map, and then your social, and then you've got your footers underneath here. Now, today's about prototyping. Today's not about a whole bunch of UX. This is good enough. Now, how long did it take me, guys?
3 minutes, 45 seconds.
Exactly. Now, that's important because when you go to do this stuff, that's how quick you can get things done. That's seriously, that's all as far as you need to get, and that's part of prototyping. Yeah, I didn't have to do everything in Adobe XD. I could do it right here, just by doing it that way. So, now that we kind of have a layout here, let's actually go into XD. And I am going to, I have no idea how I'm going to do this, so give me just 1 minute here. All right, you guys can see what I'm seeing? It's good. Okay. All right, now we're in XD. I want to show you kind of how this works. Before we get on to the prototype, I'm going to give you just a general idea of how a developer or somebody who wants to build something very quickly can be able to do this. So, one of the things that you got to do, and again, this will be available for you to take a look at, is that you have to have template items or pieces that go along with what you have. I've built already different types of titles, headers, text. I've got headers here, buttons here, so on and so forth. So we're going to just create something very quickly. So I have some things in the way. Okay. So let's say we just have, this is an artboard based upon, it's not that impressive.
No,
I know.
I see. Save off. The shook glass.
So right here, when you click on artboard, you can be able to see, you can choose between many different types of phone sizes, from iOS and Android. You can be able to figure out it on different web sizes. It gives you different types of parameters that you can use. But for anybody who's doing something very quickly, you can probably get away with just about any size, and then we'll just resize as needed. We're going to create a little gallery. So the way to do this, to kind of start things off, I'm going to just go ahead and copy this navigation here. Just put it up here. And it does this responsive resize automatically. So it just, boom, done. In other programs, that's kind of a pain.
Yeah, that's great.
Wow.
So let's just draw rectangle, get rid of the order from the fill. Again, this is just starting with a wireframe. So Adobe automatically knows the halfway point very easily. It sticks very well, which if anybody knows can be a real problem. Now, the other thing a lot of people do is they copy paste and they move stuff and they move stuff. You don't have to do that. You do something called repeat grid. Repeat grid allows you to repeat items over and over and over. Yeah. Pretty awesome, huh? Okay. So, now that we have our repeat grid, that's kind of good enough. I'm going to ungroup that grid and I'm going to put that together. So, the next thing that Adobe has in XD that is super awesome is that it allows you to be able to use plugins. Plugins are very nice. So you want to put images in there, right? Photosplash allows me to be able to, let's say it's just landscapes. Fix it, click apply, done. All the pictures are in there. Done. So, you got your gallery. But let's add a little step to this. I'm going to duplicate this artboard. I want to make the first image here bigger. We're going to do something called auto animate. Thing is, you have to understand naming and layer location. It's very important. If you don't, things are going to screw up. But I want to make this image bigger. So what is the name of this image? It's rectangle 1514. Such a sexy name. So let's just call it something else. I don't know. Call this rock wave. And I'm going to make sure that both sides of the equation have, both artboards actually have the same name. If they do not, automatic animate does not work well. I want to create a before and an after state. So see how this is underneath all that? That's not good, obviously. So the rock wave needs to go up higher. So we put that guy at the top, but we also need to do that here. Okay, once we do that, we want to make sure it goes from here to here. But once again, it doesn't look that good. It's got to be able to, have something over top of these smaller images. So what we're going to do is create an overlay. So I'll create that here. Get rid of the border. Put it in the, and keep the fill away. Why not? And then what we're going to do is we're going to call it again overlay. We're going to put that underneath the rock wave, and we're going to go ahead and give it a background blur, reduce it a little bit, the brightness, drop down, and there you have it. Now, I personally like to have it with a name, so I'm going to have this put in a title, so headline. Again, this doesn't need to be perfect because we're just making a quick prototype. Who cares? There's our headline. Make it white. And I'm going to scale it down. Now you can scale it up and down. Very easy. And I want to make it normal or regular. There you go. Okay. So now we have an artboard that goes from the small image to the large image, and we have this overlay, which is great. Once again, the problem is that auto animate will not work right, and I'll show you what I mean. Go into prototype mode, and move this here. Oh, I'm sorry, it's not that. It's on click. Sorry, you have to be on click on this image. We'll go to this artboard here. When it does, on tap, you click on auto animate, and then which artboard it goes to. That would be this one, from 1 to 2. And then we're going to do ease in and out in 1 second so you guys can see it. It's going to be wrong. Click play. Actually, it turned out well this time.
Wow.
It can figure it out this time. Great. Okay, so but it's not supposed to. What it should be doing is kind of messing up on some stuff, but we can make this a little bit better. I need to actually copy the headline and the background here and put it into the artboard 1, and then put that underneath the rockwood, like this here. But I need to make these with no opacity, so they're going to kind of come in. That should work, and watch it won't. There you go. So what's happening now is that it's coming in and blending in correctly. A lot of times when you don't have the layers right, it bounces from the lower layer to the top layer, and it looks like it goes through it. It just looks kind of mushy. So it's not that good. But you get the idea. I've just done a gallery in 5 minutes, maybe. You can do this for drop downs. You can do this for, well, here, take a look. There's a whole bunch of good stuff. You want to be able to make a loading bar? It's 2 steps. You want to be able to make a funky, cool-looking search bar? 5 steps. This one I like a lot, and I've used it in different prototypes. The hamburger menu moving on to a close. So this is actually very useful in prototyping. I'll unfortunately do questions at the end because I'm a little on time. Sorry. And we can do many, many more. I mean, there's here an expanding chart. Check this out. This is 2 steps. Click on here. Boom. Bam. Right? Okay. Program that. How long does that take? Eric?
A while.
A while?
Yeah.
Yeah. No. 10 minutes.
Takes me a while.
It's a joke. I'm sure it takes longer than that. So as you can see, it's pretty powerful stuff. Now, this was great and all, but we have a job to do. We need to get onto our website. Lo and behold, I've already started to kind of put some things together. Now, first things first for the developers, I want them to know that we're using, the grid layout that we're using is based off the Bootstrap layout. So what that basically means is this. So you've got a 12 column, each column is 70 pixels wide, 30 gutter. But you can only see that here. I don't need to really tell you, it's all right here on the right-hand side. So you can adjust whatever you want them to be. If I want them, the column width to be 100, they can do that too. So whatever. But it's a guide to help you out. It's not actually part of the actual final product. It just gives you a way to see it. So I've already laid that out. And as you can see, I've laid out other elements here too. Now, based upon our whiteboarding session to create the wireframe that we saw, we have a hero image, which is this here. Now, if you take a look, you see this blue line? This blue line represents the very bottom of the web page. So when you go to scroll, everything is going to show up on the when the person sees it, the top area, you know, the whole page. That's what that dividing line is. So when you go to prototype and send it out, that's what it's going to look like. So what we want to do is we want to get our main essential elements above the fold. And so I've already included the hero, which is over there. We need to figure out what we want to put here in these three things. We need to have our good old map area. Zarelli, you didn't need a contact form, so bye. And then we finally have the footer that I've already included some social media areas for, and I thought you might have the partnerships being listed here. So we've already solved it a little bit just by general knowledge and me doing research, and that comes through this sheet here. So I vetted some stuff beforehand doing the UX process. So what else are we missing here? We have the logo, which we have here. We have our hero image, all the pieces of the map, and well, it's mostly laid out already. But if I wanted to show you some changes here, let's discuss colors. Now, I've taken the liberty and kind of guessed a color scheme for you guys. So the Coders logo actually is pretty similar. I mean, it's the orange version of this. It is the Pantone color of the year is this is 15-1546, which is, I believe, some sort of coral something.
Coral.
Thank you. Interior designers, it is coral. Coral. So I changed the logo already in Photoshop for you, and we're going to kind of replace the existing one with that.
So you're killing your brand now.
Well,
Okay.
not killing it,
Yeah.
Giving a-
Known for that bright color.
giving it a refresh.
It's funny, I saw a Bird is selling their scooters now, and they have a coral scooter. It looks so cool.
Ah, nice.
And I've been actually thinking about turning down the orange.
Just move that over there. There, it's on the grid layout. We're good. And you'll notice here I have elements here marked for export. That's going to help all the developers understand what the colors are associated with it and all this good stuff. So I'll show you that in a little bit. So now let's talk about that color scheme. So one of the things that XD is really good about is I've already made the three colors from this color scheme up top. I'm going to just, for now, we can always change that later, just assume that we want to go with this color scheme. So the first thing that we're going to do is I'm going to select these three. Thank you. Appreciate it, guys. I'm going to go ahead and select these three colors, and I'm going to click the plus button. When I do, it's already in the color scheme. So anything that I select is going to be associated with that color scheme. So if I say that this one, the top nav here, the nav bar, but we want to look at the base color. If I want to change that to a different color, let's say you can see. So we're just going to kind of make the top bar, let's make it more like that so that the coral shows up a little bit better. Okay. And then we're going to kind of, the sign up button, right? Now that sign up button, hopefully, oh, there, that's my rectangle. Just to make things easy, let's do that. So now you can clearly see, what to kind of do. Now sign up is just a general term. what we can do is we can make that whatever we want, like join the Slack channel, right? So that was one of the things that you guys wanted to do. Okay. That over. Okay. Okay, there's your top nav. We can worry about those later, not a big deal. For the headline, we're now converting, because we've approved the wireframe here and going on to making it visually interesting for stakeholders. We want to go ahead and make something interesting. Now, I've already put together, because our presentation is short, a kind of simplistic version. All this does is it just brings in the logo like that, okay? So I've already auto-animated. So we're going to be using that, but before we do, we need to kind of fill out some of these other areas first. So what I want to do is, I want to figure out what are these 3 sections that we're going to talk about. So we're going to say that one would be the calendar. Number 2 would be, let's see, yeah, just put, I mean, I know that this can be all changed, but this is just to give an idea, right? So, and then the third one would be, let's see. No, the map's going to be below, so we're cool there.
Calendar events.
How about resources?
Yeah.
Okay. And then we've got the map area here. So, let me get rid of the sub. Okay. Now, did you notice that? Watch. Watch when I delete this. It deleted all of them because I'm still using the repeat grid system. So it doesn't delete one of them, it deletes all of them. So again, a little bit faster to do that. So now we've got those 3 things. That can be filled out pretty easily by images. For right now, I'm just going to ungroup that grid, and I'm going to just put in photo splash, and I'll put in team. This is just a general idea.
Is this using the Adobe photo set? Like,
The Unsplash, Unsplash is a plugin that is used along with it. So I just apply it. Sometimes it does that. It's because it's grouped. A lot of issues that you find with doing this stuff, the grouping becomes an issue. So there's also a quick menu. So Shift Control J. It's going to be your. Okay. So back team. And remember, they just rotate them. So J. Yeah. Right? Totally wrong. There, that's enough. Okay, so we just have something for right now. Because all we care about is that we just have something filled out. The map itself, this is pretty cool. So, not that. If we go to this rectangle here, I'm going to use another plugin. And I'm going to use one called Mass Generator. So, the location is, I just put in Bonita Springs, just to make things easy. Generate the map. Done. There's your map. Done. And then, let's go ahead and move that footer up here. And then we're going to have artboard up. There. Okay, now let's animate that piece here. So we're going to take these two and put them together. So the first thing I want to do is I want to copy this one. in there, and I'm going to duplicate it like I did before. This time we're going to put in the other one. And again, I'm just doing this to save time, so I can explain auto animate until your ears bleed, so I don't really want to do that. So we're going to go ahead and auto animate that, and this is just going to be probably a time transition. So in order to do a time transition, it's really important that you have to link within the artboard, otherwise it doesn't work whatsoever. So there's two types, there's a design and a prototype. So we're just going to link, the whole artboard is the whole thing, and we go to here, and we're going to go ahead and time transition, we'll let it delay for a second, ease in, out. There's many other options you can use, like bounce, wind up, and all this stuff, but we're just going to use ease in, out for 1 second, and that should be good enough. So when I go ahead and play this, see? And there's a web page. Okay. There's other things that we can definitely do too, like there's one called a meetup. I'll just be really quick about this. Let's say I wanted to click on this one, and then it overlays like the latest meetups, for example. Or let's say this one. So this one's going to go to this board here. It's called Meetup Overlay. Meetup Overlay, and it's going to be an actual on tap. It's going to be overlay, and we'll overlay it right there, I believe. So it's also going to be the other one too. So tap, overlay, flash. Got that, and voila, and overlay. So very simple, and this was just a screenshot I took. So you guys can play around with that. You don't have to invent everything in XD. You can just take a screenshot, plop it in, good. It's to get the point across. Remember, like how the Wild West was, you know, in those movies where we just give the facade, that's all you're building. You're not trying to build the whole system. You're trying to build the idea to get it approved and to move forward with it, okay? So that, in a nutshell, is kind of how XD works, but one last thing you can do to make it kind of even cooler if you wanted to, was to do this. You can make a parallax design, and have it do the same thing. So you can do like a fancy fun stuff, but, you know, that's my thing. I just enjoy it. So you can do all kinds of cool stuff like that. But it's really up to your imagination, and a little bit of extra work can get you a long way. But a lot of the tools are kind of already there for you to be able to do what you need to do. Almost there. Right. So let's see. Make sure I didn't miss anything. Oh, the share button for you guys. Hopefully we'll still be online to see this. I know somebody will ask for what would be so we have the prototype of what the presentation is and the design specs. I believe I need the design specs. I need to see this. Yes, okay. So for developers, when we talk about pieces and all that stuff, this actually gives you how big the sizes are, the boards, the position, the color schemes, all that stuff.
Beautiful.
So like the logo, so on and so forth, and it goes screen by screen too. So like this one would show boards, the beach, you know. So these are the pieces that you can download to all that stuff. So make sure I covered everything and good enough. Fantastic. Okay, so let's get on to that, back to the presentation real quick. so now that we've done our thing in XD, actually things get even easier, and this is where you guys come in, the people who are non-technical. So check this out. These are hand sketches that are uploaded in the system, and from your hand sketches, it uses machine learning. That's right.
It just solved my problem.
So, it's getting easier, right? So, why do you need a UI UX designer if you can just scan it in and it makes its own thing? Maybe all those other steps that you watched in the video. The real research, the talking with stakeholders and the whole teams, getting to understand your client. This is the key. This is the thing that everybody needs to understand. Designers, developers, stakeholders, we all need to work together to make it happen. Because we individually cannot do this ourselves anymore. If you think you can, you already lost. So, what that means here is, understand is going to be your user problems and your brand alignment. That idea that your customers have a problem, that does it work with your company and your branding. Research, customer feedback, and analytics. Talking to your people. The analytics is the truth teller. It tells you the data that supports the theories that the customers come to you about. You have your personas and user journeys as you analyze, meaning that you're looking for a target type of person. That's the persona you want. You want to be able to have their journey from A to Z. That's what you need to have. The design you know already, the wireframe prototype, that's what we did here. And then when you go to launch it, you need to still have development and feedback as you're working with the development team, marketing team, customer support. Everybody needs to be playing in this game. If you don't have it, you're going to miss out. There's so many examples of where they had the perfect design and it was a disaster because they didn't talk to the customer service rep. Because customer service rep knew customers and they just made assumptions. And then finally, when you've actually launched the thing, you've got to look at what you did right and what you did wrong. You really have to deep down analyze what was there and what was the user response. And based on that, you can do this process over and over and over again and make it better and better. So I want to end my slide by showing you a gazillion different resources. I'm not going over this. This will be for your fun. Where to start? The XD plugins that I use, advanced resources. One thing I will mention here is that there is an XD plugin accelerator. Unfortunately, it's due tomorrow. So if you want to go on do an all-nighter, go for it. Basically, there are certain applications where they'll pay you 20 grand to go to Adobe to develop their plugins and work with the Adobe to make their product better. Companies understand that what you guys do is super valuable, and they're willing to pay you and fly you out to do it. And it's not just Adobe, it's across the board. If you want to do some reading, there's a ton of great stuff. What we did today here was a modified version of the Lightning Design Jam, but there's other stuff too. And then if you ever want to talk to your boss about why you need to get into prototyping, show that IEEE study that was done. It actually says that 50% of what you guys do in the development world didn't need to happen. If you did prototyping in the beginning, you'd find out what it was. So show that study. That study I think was like in 2011 or a while back, and it still rides today. And then the impact of data versus intuition is huge. Did you know that Facebook with 300 likes, if anybody uses Facebook, anybody? If you've liked something throughout their system 300 times, it actually knows you better than your own spouse. So let that sink in for just a minute. Kind of a big deal. So if anybody wants to discuss this more or whatever, they can go on their smartphone and type in my company name, 3as.com/411. It downloads my V card. So you don't have to get a business card and throw it away. You actually have it in your contact book, so you don't have to worry about it. So if you guys want to talk to me, whatever, that's where you go to. And again, I'll have the slide ready for you. And that's the show. Questions?
So after you presented the great design work to the board here and everything, you're going to hand off all your design work to the developers. I noticed you had some of the peer bootstrap based, you mentioned that. So what is transferable out of it, or you give to the developers, like the color theme you might have for bootstrap, any of the graphics, what's exportable out of that?
Right.
Developers, because otherwise, what help is, what's the transition point to the developers? Because if you give it to the developer who's not the artist or whatever, and can't match those colors that you may have shipped them in an email, where is there help there, or is there an exportable feature?
Correct. And when toward the tail end of the XD presentation, I showed you kind of a link that was, it's an export or share function.
Mm-hmm.
That share function goes to stakeholders or people can make comments. The other one goes to developers. It actually lists all the different kind of graphics you can download, their color scheme, sizes of the images, and also how they lay out. It does go into that. Adobe is working on a major update in this month, so I'm sure they're going to address that even more. But what you see today is not what you see a month from now. It's going to change yet again and make that
So
process.
you might be able to export the colors right out into it.
Yes.
For bootstrap or flex use or whatever.
That's correct. I do highly recommend that companies of a larger size take a look at Design System Manager or DSMs. DSMs are the central focal point for large teams to be able to have their, think of it how like branding is, like they have their whole marketing system. Well, this is also for the whole thing. It tells the developers what colors and themes, frameworks, all that stuff, right? But it tells marketing what they need and all the colors and everything else. That is probably what you're looking for, and that's a conglomeration piece from all the team to kind of put together. I think that's a much more elegant solution, and it causes a lot less problems down the pipeline by using that kind of system. I would really look into that. Annie?
Is there like a good YouTube instructor, or who would be the best person to really watch to learn this in depth?
Okay, great question. So in the first column where it says where to start, I highly recommend to go to Let's XD. That's from the evangelist Howard Pinsky from Adobe. I learned a lot of stuff. He's fantastic. So go to that first. You're going to learn a lot there. That first column, I highly recommend you just click on the links and follow all that. That will give you the entire breadth of where to start at. You'll basically get to where I'm at on that first column. So that should that'll be very helpful.
And Brian, you did ask that everybody go check out the site for it in advance for XD.
Yeah.
And if those of us who did, we also found a link for the tutorials for it and all that are on there.
Yeah. The Let's XD has a bunch of tutorials. They even have things called snackables, which are very short tutorials and stuff. So just fun stuff. Look, it's fun. Just do it. It's fun to play around and move stuff around. It's amazing what you can kind of come up with. So, and the other big thing is on the bottom, it says the XD community, the Discord channel. Sign up for that. Man, that's just awesome. There's so many great tools there.
So instead of going to lunch with your team tomorrow, stay in the office and do a tutorial on this.
Okay. Anybody else?
I just had a comment, actually.
Sure.
So I've done prototypes and everything, but I did notice that you can do a website, and on a website it's very flexible to get away with things, like if you forgot something you added or whatever. But these kind of things are very important if you want to develop for mobile, because for mobile everything has to have an order to happen, so you can't really afford to oh, I forgot and I'm gonna put this, because now where do you click and where is it supposed to go? So for anybody that is getting into mobile development, I would really recommend to do